I think they're the best team.
And they're a ridiculous team to watch, and and their comms to me are the best.
Welcome to Reverse Sweeps Review Show, presented by USAA Insurance. We've had a lot go on in the week, our final conclusion before we get to the LAN. And guys, I'm really, really excited to talk about Seattle and OpTic. I know that's going to be a big topic for us later, but was there any match that really kind of stood out to you?
Toronto versus New York for me, for sure. I mean, I expected Toronto to win, but not like that. They handled them pretty easily.
Yeah, no, it has to be that Toronto series. I thought it was going to be a lot closer, especially just because I don't know. I guess I wasn't sure with how Toronto was going to perform in the stage after losing that first series to Florida, but they looked dominant.
Yeah, no, they certainly looked good. And let's take a look at some of the results. The teams that looked good, the teams that maybe struggled a bit. Toronto, no surprise, winning on the week, going I think 6-1 in their map count overall, taking out Gorillas first. Seattle, kind of the shocker, day one, beating OpTic to deny themselves the honor of having the new record for the longest losing streak. They will avoid that by taking out OpTic. Teams like New York and Minnesota coming out on top. Minnesota beating LA Thieves in a 3-2. And then Saturday and Sunday, FaZe, London, Dallas, your big winners. And then Toronto, as we mentioned, a 3-0 over Subliners. OpTic bouncing back with a 3-1 win over Thieves. And let's stick on OpTic. What is going on with them? Maybe it's more of the same inconsistencies, but you lose to Seattle, but then you turn around and 3-1 Thieves, which I don't know how much maybe that even says, Pacman. What's going on with OpTic?
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't blow the loss to Seattle out of proportion. Yes, they should beat Seattle every single time, but Seattle has top-end talent. And sometimes, I mean, it's been a long time, granted, but sometimes they're just going to play okay. And I feel like Seattle just played okay. That's the second time they've gone to the brink with a team. They went to the brink with LA Thieves earlier. They just happened to lose. And they pulled this one out against OpTic. I would have been a lot more worried for OpTic had they come out flat again Sunday, but they handled LA Thieves pretty easily. Honestly, they weren't going to get the 1 seed anyways. They still secured the 2 seed in the group, so it's not too much to worry about. I just think that the loss itself looked ugly at the time, especially when you're trying to make sure you are holding on to that winner's bracket spot. I just think that Seattle has the players to pull them out every once in a while. That's why they're such a perplexing team. They have some of the best talent across the league, actually, and it's just they managed to put it together for a series, and it just happened to be against OpTic.
Good answer, John. It was a fantastic answer. It was a one-off.
Is this what
Katie.
we're starting out? Is this what we're starting out, Sassy Ian?
I didn't get much sleep last night, but yeah, no, that first series versus Seattle, I think it was just a one-off with how OpTic's been playing as of late, especially against not the top teams. You know, almost like a trap game. They probably thought that there was no shot in hell that Seattle was going to beat them, and Seattle came out, and Seattle actually played really well. Like, I don't think OpTic played bad by any means. Seattle just played well, like John said, but then they got right back into the swing of things. They absolutely bodied the Thieves in all 3 respawns, and it's whatever. It happens.
I mean, it does. Hey, I mean, it's Gorillas beat FaZe.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like and
then,
I think that's kind of people forget exactly what Ian just said, that anyone can beat anyone in COD if they're feeling themselves, and especially if the other team's going into it. If you assume you're going to win, that's a really great way to end up losing.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
Exactly what happened.
And then just one series, and then things go back to normal, and Surge lose their very next match. You know what I mean? It's just like Ian said, the one-off
against Paris.
So then here's a question. When you look at OpTic, are you really able to glean much from this win or this loss? Do they look any better, or do they still kind of just look at going into the major?
To me, they look the exact same. Like I still, if they were to play Seattle in the actual tournament, I would expect them to win, because you just don't sleep on anyone in the tournament and you come out hot. When it comes to actually winning the tournament, I don't have any faith in them winning the tournament. So it's the same thing that I had. The same feeling that I had right after the last stage is the same thing I had through this entire stage. They're really good. They're a solid team. I expect them to beat most opponents. But when they play the top-end opponents, Toronto, New York, FaZe, even on LAN, well, maybe not New York. We don't have no idea if their full team's going to be there or whatever the situation may be. But I expect them to lose those matches. And then I do expect them to beat all the lower teams. So, I mean, they're a good team, just not a championship team, in my opinion.
Agreed. I mean, I don't think they look I think they will actually do pretty well at the major. Like John said, we just haven't seen them really be able to compete with the Torontos, the FaZes, even NYSL. So I'm not expecting them to beat those kind of teams, but going up against the rest of the league, I think they're head and shoulders above. They're head and shoulders above.
Yeah, you
the rest
nailed
of the
it.
league.
You nailed it. Great job.
So I think they look the exact same, like John said.
Okay, well, what about Toronto then? Do you think they're back to season 2 form? They haven't dropped a map since their loss
look
to
good.
Florida in week 1. Toronto, yeah, that was my impression, Ian, was that Toronto looks as good as they did back in stage 2 for sure.
Them boys are good.
I'm curious. I don't think this is going to be the case, Katie, but a lot of people seem to think that their Bell Fiber is a piece of their success. I don't think it is. I think they're the best team when it comes to just playing fundamentally correct. Their teamwork, even when they do the listen-ins and communication. But people are on the fence about them. I think they're going to be great. I think the Florida series was kind of a wake-up call for them because they didn't lose a map after that, and it was dominant. So it's
There's
definitely.
also just I don't believe a narrative that this level of dominance is coming from Bell Fiber.
I agree. But you know how people are.
They want to see. They've never been beaten by these guys on LAN, right? So
Well,
they're not giving you credit till you beat them on LAN.
Yeah. No, I can understand too that fans of other teams that might be, a little bruised and battered by them want to latch on to something that's not the actual talent level of the players to point out for their success. So I can understand that.
Of course, and I just think that it's a bit of hating. Like you don't 3-0 everyone because you're better online. You might beat them because you're better online. I've played some tough online opponents before, but you don't just 3-0 everyone and actually just have better teamwork than everyone simply because of online.
Well, we've seen that argument crop up against another team recently too, in terms of like extenuating circumstances. Look at the FaZe and OpTic match from a while ago, right?
Yeah,
I don't really
true.
think it's are they?
I mean, online is definitely like I'm not gonna sit here and pretend to be delusional. Online is online. There's a lot of fugazi that happens online. Like,
there's fuckery that occurs.
You get imploded, like blah blah blah. Sometimes you just had no chance in a fight. All that does definitely happen, but over the course of a season, it's not gonna make you a bad team or a great team.
Yeah,
you have to work. I mean, the longevity of it proves who's better. In the short term, anything can happen. I agree, but Toronto's just proven to be a beast. And even that match they lost, that was the very first match of the week or of the stage, and they played standoff and got blown out. Like even that loss I said at the time it didn't really mean that much to me. And obviously they went on and proved it right after that, and they 3-0'd everyone. I mean, they're a ridiculous team to watch, and and their comms to me are the best because they don't even sound like they're in tournament. Like their comms are really good, but they're not maybe hyped or whatever it is. They're so calm and they all listen to each other so well.
They're very level.
Yeah.
Like,
it reminds me of
level across the board, not too hot or not too high, not too low.
I mean, it's a different game, but it's Halo and how OpTic Halo used to be. Like, bro, are these guys even trying? But they beating everyone. They're so calm.
No, I think something that you look at when you see Toronto too, like at least certain players just seem to kind of slow down for a bit, and slow down in terms of Toronto's relative, right? Because you're still significantly better than most other players, but players like Cammy maybe slowed down a little bit, and now suddenly it's back onto an upswing of how good they were stage 2 when they beat FaZe. I'm really excited. I think now, obviously we'll get to that in other shows, but I'm very excited for FaZe in Toronto to potentially have another big clash at the end of this stage. But guys, I do want to remind you, as always, that Reverse Sweep is presented by USAA Insurance, and they make it easy to insure all of your stuff, like your rigs and gear, and they have your back. Eligibility restrictions apply, and insurance provided by the United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas. Let's keep cruising, Thieves. Not cruising, or at least maybe not in the direction that they would hope. Ian,
boys are in reverse.
What's going on? What's going on with them? Yeah.
Honestly, Katie, like I think that the move that they made to bring Slasher back in, to bring Kyler, was the right move, right? Because you're not a contender. You haven't really looked great at any point of the year. So you might as well bring in experienced players.
Well, they had their moment with TJ before he got benched for Hook. They had that little moment that they then cut off at the knees.
What I mean by great, I guess, like being an actual contender. these guys, being a top 4 team, I don't consider that like a good thing for them or whatever, or successful. They did this move to kind of swing for the fences, which I think is the best thing that you could do, because like I said, they're not trying to go to champs and get 4th place or 5th. Like, they're trying to win, but they just don't look like a team. I don't know what it is. They just don't. Like, we all know, we say it time and time again, they're so talented individually. They have some of the most talented players in Call of Duty history. They've all won in the past. They're proven winners. They have experience. But then when they play in these matches, they just like don't look like they're on the same page at all. So I don't know. I don't even know what it is. I couldn't even tell you. I've given up with trying to have any sort of explanation.
I mean, I think that's just the best way to put it. The trio has had its time, and it hasn't been successful, but I still understand the move from LA Thieves organization. It's like just what Ian just said. Your team's not good anyways, so you might as well go down swinging with the guys that you're paying all the money. Like, these are the proven guys. The proven guys on land. Maybe they'll get it together. In my opinion, they won't, but maybe they will, and you just have to swing with the fences. It is perplexing, right? Like, why are they so bad together? And when you watch them play, none of them are bad, right? Individually, they're all fine, but when they play together, it's just off. The games you're seeing some of the easiest games from other teams, right? Like, OpTic beat them in control in like 4 minutes. Like, it was super quick, and I don't understand how this version of the roster is supposed to get it together. Also, in terms of for like someone like Kenny, this is a completely new team. He's been playing the game. He's the only one that's been playing the game the entire season, and now he has to adjust again to different play styles from his teammates, right? TJ was on the team. Yeah, Hook was on the team. Yeah, Austin was on the team, but never together. This is the first time we've actually seen this before, and they have a huge bridge to gap, right? Their teamwork just isn't there, and obviously it's making it tough for the subs to play. Like, at some point, Hook and TJ were just getting absolutely destroyed, and we all know that they're not bad players like that. It just, the teamwork's off, making it extremely difficult for those guys to succeed.
Okay, so say you have a, maybe mediocre major, or even a bad major, or even a good major. I don't know. But do you keep this core the same at this point going forward, considering there's only going to be stage 5 and then champs? Or do you think, Thieves have had the most roster changes this year, right?
Yeah, had zero stability. Yeah.
Like, do you just keep it at this point and say, yo, this is just what we're going to try and make work? Or do you think it's going to be worthwhile for them to continue trying to shuffle?
I think they
sent me to 14 day, John. I don't know about you. I think at that point they got it.
Can we get a blooper reel clip, please, of all the times Ian has said this, and to all the teams he said this to, please?
It'll work one time. John, I'll let you take this, though. Yeah, go ahead.
I think that they have to. And I only say that because they're going to LAN. And since you're going to LAN and you're giving them this experience together as a unit, I feel like you have to ride with your decision at this point. You made it. You took out players that had some success, even though it was starting to fall apart. And you brought in a team that hasn't had much, but they're all the veterans and all the LAN stars that we've seen in the past. And even if they don't do well at the major, you got to remember that they've had such a short time together, and they started in losers pretty much by default, right? This 4 started in losers, so it is hard to make a losers run in general. So even if they don't go far in the major, you still got to give them that time, and hopefully they gel, because that's what you're trying to do, right? You're trying to let these 4 show you why they are who they are, and you just have to give it a little time. You have to let them try to gel as a team. I don't really think you have a choice in the matter.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they can stick with it, if maybe the org decides to mix it up again. Guys, let us know what you think, of course. But it's time for the most clutch moments of the week with Got You Covered, presented by USAA Insurance. Make sure to level up your gear protection with USAA Insurance. So, guys, your best moments, your most clutch moments of the week. Who stood out to you? What really kept with you now that we're into Monday?
I guess this wouldn't be technically a moment. But for me, as a collective, it was the OpTic respawns versus LA Thieves. Especially after losing to Seattle Surge, where, people were bench envoy, drop forward, They literally put on and had 3 unbelievable respawns. They made the Thieves look like an amateur team, if I'm being honest. It was flawless. It was one of the quickest controls, I think, in the CDL, like John said. They went up 101-0 in game 4 in the second hard point of the series. So they just put on a show as a whole, and, you know, kind of shut everyone up. Everyone that was saying, you know, what the hell are they doing? How do you possibly lose to Seattle? They came back, did what they had to do, secure winners bracket for the first LAN. They looked good doing it, you know. I don't know. It's OpTic looked good, Katie.
All right, I like it. Pacman, what do you got? Please don't steal mine.
I'm actually gonna go and give it to Scraps. I feel like Scraps played well again, and he won that 1v1 against Gunless in game 2 to give them a 2-0 lead. And honestly, Paris has started to look really competitive. They're not gonna end up making top 8 or anything. But
don't make me jaded. We already went down this road once before, Pacman.
No.
I'm having hope.
I have a little hope for them as a team. I mean, they are starting to look. Yeah, they're starting to be a competitive roster. They're starting to put a couple wins together.
Finally.
And even in their losses, you know, they're right there. Like, they seem to really get along.
I've been on this Paris.
Their chem is there.
Welcome.
Their chem is there. And honestly, that was a huge win out of Scraps. And you beat a team. You're like, Seattle's trying to get 2 in a row on the weekend, and going up 2-0 against them, and that big 1v1 out of Scraps is a huge deal. So I got to give it to him.
Wait, Ian, did you say that you bet on that train?
I've been on the Paris Legion train,
But
but
that train
you
so
got
long
off the
ago.
train. Don't rewrite history, Ian. You got off the train when I got off the train.
I might have got off the train, you know, hit the candy shop up real quick, but I hop back on. I hop back, but you know, besides the LA Thieves, that's my team. Paris, my second team. I've been on the train. I've been on the train since the beginning.
My best moment. I have to give it to Minnesota. Their general performance, their overall performance this week. So they beat Thieves, and they do lose to FaZe 3-1, but at least in my eyes, it looked like a good loss. It was like 250 to 246. Map 1 hard point. It was extremely close. They end up losing 6 rounds in a row in a raid search. So yeah, no, something to work on there. But I think the control and the second hard point too, they looked competitive against FaZe. I didn't really think it looked like a blowout. It seemed like they had life. So seeing that from Minnesota makes me excited to see if they can potentially maybe have some magical moments at the LAN at the Stage 4 Major. So my best moment, definitely seeing Minnesota look competitive against FaZe. But before we get into our MVPs and LVPs, that's the usual flow of the show. I want to rewind for a bit and talk about our bottom 4. Maybe they don't really want us to talk about them, but that's tough. So when you're in the bottom 4 and it might at some point become, or already is, mathematically impossible for you to go to champs, what are they playing for from here? I don't know if you guys have ever been in a position like this, but what are these players playing for? What are these teams playing for? Are they on autopilot,
honestly,
guys? Like,
yeah.
what goes onward?
Honestly, in the bottom 4, let's. There's like, okay, Octane, Gunless, maybe.
I don't know where you're going
Temp.
with this. I was just naming.
No. Gunless is a good answer. Temp, maybe Scraps. Everyone else, Shawnee, maybe. Everyone else is, you know what I mean? Everyone else is playing for their future, right? Like, these guys aren't guaranteed spots next season. You're not guaranteed anything going forward, and this is your career, and it is extremely hard to get back in nowadays when you're out. Like, you have people, names like, let's not even go crazy names. Names like Nagafin, right? He was placing really high consistently, and then he wasn't in the league, and then you just don't even hear about him anymore. You know what I mean? Like, people get retired quickly once you're out of the league nowadays because it's just the barrier to entry is so high.
It's a finite resource of so many teams and so many positions, and
exactly,
that's that.
Exactly. And then people that have been competing on that level for so long, it's hard to convince them to go play in challengers. Like, I don't even know if Ian even considered it. It's hard to go back and like.
Them boys kick rocks. I'm out of here. I did
you know what I mean?
time.
So
I'm gone.
you are playing for your future, and you can come on strong at the late parts of the year, and prove that you deserve to be there, and it gets your confidence up going towards the next title or the next season or whatever the heck it may be next year. You can prove that you're improving still. So I mean, nowadays that's more important than it ever was in the past. Because in the past, I mean, yeah, you kind of were out of it, and that's it. Your team just sucked, and you go home. But nowadays,
So players are going to stat pad?
Yeah, I mean, that did happen for sure. But
yeah.
nowadays, you have to prove. It's better for your team to win than for you just to have stats, because at the end of the day, it won't matter.
It sucks because going into every year, no matter what team you're on, as a competitor, you're always like, hey, we could be really good. Now, some of these teams, the bottom four, are at the point where they're like, we're not going to be a champs, even if they're completely delusional and they think they have an opportunity they don't. But like John said, like, besides maybe a few of the big names, everyone needs to be playing for their future, because it's a cutthroat league where if you are on the out, even if you want to compete in challengers, you might never make it back into the CDL. I mean, I think Octane is a perfect example of what you just said too, John. Obviously, I don't think he would be on the way out of the league, but if you look at him in the beginning of this game, up until, a couple weeks ago, his stock was probably at an all-time low since he's been a professional COD player, and so it's like he looks great as of late. And I think that helps more than people think. People thought maybe there was an effort thing and he kind of fell off. And it's like, even though he would still be in the league realistically, he probably would only get on like another shitty team next year. But but doing well and looking like Octane of old raises stock a little bit. People are like, oh, okay, maybe he can really be dominant.
To add him onto our good team. And he can,
exactly. So that's all they're playing for at this point. There still is another major before champs. So if you have some success, you can still make some bread. But it's just all about the future.
Yeah, gotta look forward, because unfortunately for some of these teams, like we say, guys, it's looking tough for champs. Let's move on to our MVPs, most valuable players of the week. Gentlemen, who would you like to go first?
Go ahead, John.
I'm gonna go with Cammy. I don't know. I just had to pick one of the Toronto Ultra beasts. I'll just go with Cammy. My reasoning: I like his name. He's a good guy, fantastic player. He put on map 1 versus NYSL, and if you don't remember, that map was actually one of the closer maps I've seen this year. It was back and forth. I feel like neither team even got a 20-point gap. Like, it was super close, and he played really well, and he's just a beast. I think the whole team is fantastic, but I'm gonna give it to Cammy. I'm excited that he seemed to regain some. I mean, saying he regained form seems like he fell off. He didn't, but he wasn't playing like the best player.
He went through a little bit of a slump.
Yeah,
like just tiny.
Yeah, exactly. So then to see him get back to that is awesome. So I gotta give it to him, and gives the European scene a team to really get behind. So that's awesome too.
I'm gonna go a little more in depth, Katie. Not only this is my MVP of the week, this is my MVP of the regular season of Stage 4. Since we're all wrapped up here, it has to be Neptune for me. I've been on this kid since he switched over to Call of Duty. Obviously, you look at Florida. They could have been in winners bracket. Got a little unlucky. They kind of threw the series versus Dallas Empire. I think that they should have ended this Stage 4-1, but that's another topic. But Neptune looked great. He had a 1.14 throughout all of Stage 4. Going into this stage, I think he was around a 1.0, like a point, not like just very inconsistent. We all know the talent he has, but he's finally putting it together. One of the main reasons why Florida has looked as good as they have recently. So I gotta give him some love, because that is exactly what you want out of him. What you got from him in Stage 4, it is perfect. And if he keeps playing the way he is and keeps getting better, sky's the limit for him. I think he could be up there, considered one of the best sub players in the game by the end of it.
Ooh, I like it. Big praise. But I have to agree with you. I think Neptune has definitely been playing consistently better, and it makes me really excited to see how Florida does at the major. Unfortunately, we'll be starting in losers, but I'm excited to see the run that they can make. My MVP, I'm going to do a cop-out and easy one and just say Toronto. I'm excited to see that they're back to their form of Stage 2. I think there will be some really good competition from them with FaZe, and that's what I'm excited to see more than anything. Assuming they end up playing, which they probably will, I'm very, very excited to see two teams that look like they're back at their peak forms going head-to-head. LVPs, least valuable players. Ian, you get to start this time. No tradesies. Go,
Okay. LVP. I have TJ Haley, Katie.
Shoo.
I have
Teej, tough.
I love Teej. People think me and Teej hate each other. Teej is my guy. Teej is like my little brother, you know? Little fat little brother. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, he was he was getting better when they were really trending up. He got benched, got an opportunity again, and he was able to play alongside Kyler, Slasher, and Kenny, and they just haven't looked good. Now it's not only him by any means, because I think this is more of a team thing. They just don't look like they're on the same page. But he's got one of the worst KDs in the league, and just knowing his ceiling, like I know TJ can be a crucial part to a winning team, to a championship team, and he's just not putting it together. I do think that he has some intangibles that help the success of LAT, but he needs to really he needs to have a Neptune transformation for me, where we need him to be doing that aggressive, in-your-face play style while at least giving us around the 1, not a 0.7, which is what he's currently giving us.
I like it. That's fair. I think that's fair criticism.
Yeah, it is. I mean, he's in a tough spot, to be fair. But
he is in a tough spot. He is.
I think I'm going to go on the other side of what he said earlier, and I'm going to go with Havoc. I just feel like he's the most important player for Florida in the sense that he's super inconsistent, but when he plays really well, they're going to be really hard to beat. And that match against Dallas Empire was everything. That could have meant this a winner's bracket spot for sure. That could have meant a lot. That could have been the first seed, I think, even if they were tied with Toronto because of tiebreaker. He just did not play well, right? He just did not have his series. And Dallas isn't the best team. I know it's a tough team to play against for sure. They have a lot of talent, but you have to give me more in that match. You just have to. We know like Havoc brings a lot to the team. They've improved instantly almost when they picked him up. He obviously is some sort of vocal leader, good at search and destroy, but I just need more consistency from him. I actually am a believer in Havoc, so I expect more out of him going forward, and hopefully he can be consistent throughout this major because they're starting in losers and they really don't have a choice. So I'm looking at Havoc to step it up a bit for me.
Okay, Havoc, I mean, I think that's a good pick. I'm gonna go I'm gonna go a little different this time. My LVP is Ian for being late to the show today and making me wait.
Come on,
I'm a little cranky today. My patience is low. You made me wait. LVP.
3 minutes. I only slept 3 hours last night. Let's talk about that.
That's not my problem.
I'm doing the damn thing, and I'm looking good.
He's
what I'm
doing
saying?
the damn thing, whatever that is.
I'm
All right,
about to
that's
be
what I
the.
got for
Hold
you.
up, Katie.
That's what I
I'm about to be the MVP once they give me the 14-day. Tell you that.
Well, if you keep making your wild ass predictions that turn out true, like yeah,
He was
maybe.
wrong. He was wrong.
Okay, but the first part of the prediction was
I was half right.
I said
was
Dallas
half
was
right.
gonna. I said
the
Dallas was
more
gonna make it
impressive
through winners,
part
beat
of the
Florida, and
prediction.
Toronto was gonna beat. Never mind. I was actually
Wait,
right.
did you actually say that?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Remember when I said Gorillas were gonna beat Toronto?
Yeah, I did. We didn't even take
Good
that
job, John.
serious.
Yeah, I thought you were just saying that for content.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well YOLO, you know? If you get it right, then fucking great. All right, that's what we got for you guys. LVP, Ian's, the Havocs, the TJs of the world. We'll see if they can step it up going into the major, the first one on LAN. Very, very excited to do the review show once that concludes. So, guys, stay tuned for that, and we'll see you then.